Welcome to the Next Chapter podcast. If you are a professional or an entrepreneur that's ready to dive headfirst into your next chapter of business success and create a kick-ass freaking life, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Rob Murgatroyd, and I'll be bringing you some game-changing insights, great interviews, and real-life transformations of people who have made a leap into their next chapter. Strap in and let's get this party started. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the show. So I have been thinking as a coach, and I'm helping a lot of people who are, pretty much in two stages. One stage is they're transitioning out of what they're currently doing and into something else. Some of them have been doing it a long time, 10, 15, 20 years. And other people are working for somebody and they're trying to get out and they're trying to start their own thing. And maybe there's a third bucket, which is entrepreneurs who are really loving what they do. They just want to grow it. They want to scale it. They want to make it bigger, but they don't want it to affect their work-life balance. So those are probably the three people that I've been able to successfully help. But some of those people do really, really well with coaching and accomplishing their goals. And others, it seems like it's really difficult to get them to execute on what they say they want. So I was doing some research and I came across a guy named Dr. John DeMartini. Give him a Google. And what he said about goals is what I want to share with you today. He said, you're going to get your highest values. So basically that means what it is, what you are intrinsically, say that 3 times fast, what you are intrinsically motivated to do vis-a-vis your highest values are the things that are going to come into your existence faster. So what does that mean? Well, if you take a kid who, loves playing video games, it's a high value for him or her, they're going to do it. You're not going to have to motivate them. They're just going to, just naturally gravitate towards playing their video games. But when you ask them to do their homework, that's a different story. That's not in their top values, so they're not going to do it. So all stimuli gets centered through what we value. All right, so let me take this point a little bit further. Give me an example. A mom who is, say, 35 years old, and her highest value is her 3 kids under the age of 5. If she walks into a mall, she will spot with a selective, biased attention things like children's clothes, children's education, and she's going to filter out things that are for her children and overlook things that are not for her children. She's going to look past things that are business materials, unless her highest value happens to be an entrepreneur or a business person. She's going to look past them. Let's use the same example in a couple. Let's say the husband is an entrepreneur, and one of his highest values is business. He's going to see something entirely different. He's going to spot suits, computers, which companies in the mall that he may want to buy stocks in. And he's going to be thinking in terms of a completely different reality. They're going to see 2 different worlds. They literally will filter their reality according to what it is that they value most. So if you take this a layer deeper, we all have this selective, biased attention. So there are false positives in the direction of what we value most, and false negatives where we overlook things that are lower on our values. So, we automatically filter out reality according to our value system. All right. So not only are our priority of actions determined by this, but our brain chemistry, our neurology, our sensory perceptions are also determined by it. So I'm going to get a little bit geeky in this because I know some of you are into the sort of biohacky, neurology, quantum physics-y worlds. And I just think it's really interesting. So whether you are setting a goal, either an intention to accomplish something or an attention to learn something, when it's congruent and aligned with your highest value, you're going to spot things in the environment that people are going to overlook. And these people will take actions on it and make decisions rapidly because they have all this information already. And they're going to spontaneously act on it because it's something that is really high on their values. So John DeMartini, the guy that I opened this with, was in the documentary The Secret. Many of you have probably watched. And he said, what was left out of my interview was I said, don't waste time on anything that isn't your highest value because you're going to filter out all that sensory awareness. You're not going to take actions. You're going to procrastinate, hesitate, frustrate, and you'll need external motivation to act on these things. So the probability of you achieving the magic that was in The Secret or the law of attraction is related to the degree of congruency that you're going to have with what is truly important to you. And you're going to pursue what's authentic as it relates to that. Because your identity is going to revolve around that too. And that is your most authentic you. So this whole idea of you will get the thing that you value most because it's authentically you, all ties together and rolls up into actually how you see yourself, your identity. So you want to identify what are those things? What are the things that you value the most and you want to pursue them and really give yourself permission to go after that? So when I think about, things that I really, really value in my personal life, I really, really value my family. I value Italian culture. I value learning. I value the Italian language. I value coaching. I value travel. So all of these things are not difficult for me to do or to go after. But if I put on that list a Ferrari, I don't care about it. It's not that important to me, right? Or a $3 million house, I don't care about that either, right? Like we drive a Fiat Cinquecento, it's called. It's Fiat 500. It's basically like a pregnant roller skate. Like I don't give a shit about it. So because it's low on my value, I can get really jacked up and really motivated in trying to execute on this, but it's not going to happen. So you're never going to be able to possibly compete with somebody who's congruent and living their highest values with their goals and somebody who isn't. So when people look at The Secret and, they're trying to figure out why things didn't work for them, what they were doing was pursuing goals that were not congruent with the things that they valued the most, and they were expecting a magical thing to happen. So, the first principle of this law of attraction, let's call it, is that you maximize the opportunities and decisions and actions. And when you do that in alignment with your highest value, then all of a sudden you start getting these synchronicities. You start walking down the street and you're like, oh my God, I see this. I see a sign. I want to learn Italian. I see a sign for learning Italian because it's now you've opened up that part of the brain so you can see it. So if you get into some brain neurology and chemistry, when you're functioning from a lower value, right? Something that's not that important. We'll continue on with the Ferrari in my case. It's a low value for me. So my blood, glucose, and oxygen go into the amygdala. And that results in this sort of objectively biased interpretations to survive. Because I don't value it. So it's not going to the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive section of the brain. It's the area where It's the area where your brain is trying to help you gain what it is that you truly want, right? But if you're setting goals, aligns with your highest values, the blood glucose and oxygen go into the executive section of the brain, the executive center of the brain, the frontal lobe, where you actually are embracing pain and pleasure equally, and you're pursuing a true objective, which is much more balanced and neutral and impartial. And that's where the greatest achievement happens. So anytime you pursue a goal that is not in your highest value, it winds up going into the amygdala, and it creates these one-sided experiences where you're battling, avoiding pain and pleasure. So let's look at it. Let's break this down. So when you go into fight or flight, when people are having like a panic attack, or they're stressed out, or they're getting anxious, that shit's all the amygdala. It's fight or flight. When you're buying a new car that you really want, or you're traveling to a country that you really want to visit, that's going into the executive center of the brain. There's no fight or flight. You're embracing it. There's a part of your brain where you're like, this feels really good. So you want to choose things that are going to dump you into the part of the brain that is going to have access to the frontal part of your brain, or the prefrontal cortex, as opposed to the amygdala, which is going to have a lot of stress. So my suggestion is for you to make a list of all the things that you want when you are writing down your goals, and look at them and truly ask yourself, is this one of my highest values? Because if it is one of your highest values, chances are it will happen really, really quickly. If it is not one of your highest values, it's going to be a struggle. All right, that's it for today. If you are interested in working with me personally, there's a link down in the show notes. And as a listener to this podcast, I will do a free 30-minute Zoom session with you as a discovery call to see if my coaching is a fit for you. All right, that's it, everybody. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Look, I've been there, craving something different as a professional. Maybe you want to level up your business. Maybe you love what you do, but you need some time freedom. Or maybe you're ready to say goodbye to it all and dive into a totally new world of business. Either way, I've got you covered. My coaching programs will help you reverse engineer a plan that will help you take the next step in creating the success and life you've always dreamed of. In the show notes, you'll see a link for a one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching. Just hit up one of those links in the show notes and we'll jump on a free discovery call.